Hello and welcome to the next video of my LPL 2024 preview series where I'm going to cover all 17 teams. I advise you to become a subscriber to the channel, join the Discord, become a dedicated simp. It's a role on the channel that will allow you to know when my uploads are going to be going out, because I'm going to have well over 50 over the next few weeks as we get ready for the 2024 season. Now today we have BiliBili Gaming. I just did Anyone's Legend. Obviously, BLG is a team that took a big step forward this past year, a super team that put together, a great roster, adding Sean Yagao, Elk, and On. Well, actually, I think, was on the team last year? No. Was he on Weibo? Crisp was on the team. I don't think On was on the team. Regardless, they put together a few pieces and really, you could argue were third best team in the world for 2023. I think you could argue they were the second best. They were that good, right? Now, that record for domestic success, 25-7 in the regular season, the 2 years prior, however, 16-16 for both. So that does just showcase the step forward. The changes with the roster. So, Yagao is back. Well, Yagao is back to JDG. He left. They also lost a lot of their BLG junior roster from the LDL. That includes Price, Can, Rise, Jue, and Wanwan. Jue is gonna start. Shoot, he was added to a roster. I just went over it. I forget which team it was, but he's projected to be a starter in the LPL, or at least have an opportunity this year. And then the others we've seen at times with BLG, I think in 2022. The addition, Knight, and Lamau. So, Knight, of course, in that conversation for best mid in the world. I just did my top fives video, and I dropped him down a peg because he doesn't play Azir and refuses to play it, and refuses to do what's best for his team. And with that in mind, man, that's a tough sell. Some people really want to look past it. I can't look past it. That's so terrible from a star player, right? This team. So, on paper, this team's one of the best. That's without a doubt. You could argue it is the best team on paper in the world, based on how all these players performed last year, 4 of the 5, and then you just add JDG Knight to the roster, which is an upgrade over Yagao, in a mechanical sense, in just a player skill sense, and it's definitely something. So we're going to talk about it. So first we have Ben, 20 years old in top lane, one of the best top laners in the world. Ben is excellent. He is more solo dolo, a finesse top laner. 160 games. Yes, that's how many games BLG played last year. 3-1 KDA, 8-4 CS per minute, 48-4 KP. That goes to show you, right? Less than half of the kills for BLG, Bin was involved in, so he was away from the fight. 21-5 gold share, 499 damage per minute, and that was 21.7% of damage, and that is a perfect example, right? You don't deal damage when you're not in the fight. He's more so on an island. 14 champions played. That's not a lot of champions for 160 games. His 3 most played. Jax, K'Sante, Gwen, 2 finesse champions in there. 46% of his champion pool. Those games accounted for 46% of the games last year. We saw from spring to summer, 369 called him out. Why he lost? Because Ben doesn't have it in him to play the weak side. Have it in him to play champions that are more facilitator oriented. They're not finesse. They're more like, an Ornn or a Scion, Malphite, things like that. He just doesn't really offer that angle. And we saw him take, some time to try and improve those champions during that window. And I thought that was for the betterment of Ben. I think that's important. When you see you have a weakness, you need to play it to offer more to your team, right? To offer different things and different metas. And this is why I have a problem with Knight not playing Azir and refusing to not play it. Lamb is the top backup behind him on the BLG Young roster. Lamb is a player that I don't remember if I put him in my top lane prospects video, but I know I considered it. Don't know his age. 58 games played, 3.4 KDA, 8.3 CS per minute, 54.3 KP. 21.8 gold share, 566 damage per minute, 11 champions played. That's a lot of damage. A very, very talented player. I'm going to go X-Gal. X-Gal, we don't know any stats about him, but he's 18 years old. We have that. So they have a couple backup top laners. Excuse me. Shun in the jungle, 21 years old, definitely took a massive step forward, not only throughout the season, but I thought at Worlds as well, really solidifying that he does offer more than a carry-oriented Nidalee and Kindred. Those two champions, honestly, in my opinion, you should leave up. I don't think that they're... it's now at the point where you don't ban out Shun, you just let him pick whatever the hell he wants, and you have to adapt. So 160 games, 4 KDA, 5.7 CS per minute, 71 KP. Great numbers. In a meta where 5.5 and 70 is the standard for me. 19.1 gold share, 358 damage per minute, which was 15.3% of damage. 11 champions played. Vi, Wukong, Sejuani accounting for 58% of his games. So that kind of goes to show you, right? Vi, very point and click. Wukong, a little more carry-oriented, if you will. And Sejuani is pure facilitator. So, a player that, like I said, really took a step forward. Junhao is behind him at 19 years old. 58 games, 3.6 KDA, 5.4 CS per minute, 68.1 KP. 19.1 gold share as well, 369 damage per minute. 12 champions played. The thing is, and why BLG did have so many players leave the roster from their LDL team, were like, where is the path to pro, right? Where is the path to the LPL on this team? It's nowhere, right? You are not going to supplant one of these players in their roles, especially after last year's success. So a player in the LDL is best to go find another team, right? The LGDs of the world, Rare Atom, Ultra Prime, teams like that, where there's going to be an easier chance to try and get to the top level. Mid lane, Knight, 23 years old, excellent player, doesn't play Azir, doesn't have the attitude that I think is winner's mentality, if you will. 124 games played, 5.4 KDA, 8.7 CS per minute, 66.9 KP. 22.3 gold share, 634 damage per minute, 26.4% of damage. Keep in mind, JDG was a super team that didn't get it done. Often super teams don't get it done, and this team's looking like that super team this year. BLG is. So it's definitely something to think about as well. But Knight was good before that, right? With Top Esports, he played with Suning and then played with Top Esports and didn't look out of place at any time. He is one of the best mids in the world. I'm just really harping on the Azir part. And 22 champions in 124 games. It's not like he doesn't play a lot of stuff. It's just he doesn't play one of the most iconic, meta, safe, standard picks. Ari, Jace, Annie account for 47% of his games. So we see different looks there. Ari, Jace is carry-oriented, and then Annie very facilitator-oriented. Behind him, Aruzi. Aruzi played in 24 games, 3.7 KDA, 7.8 CS per minute, 62.7 KP. This player is not ready at all for the LPL. 62.7 KP, like I said. 20.8 gold share, 486 damage per minute, 9 champions played. We got Elk, 22 years old, excellent player. Was a player that I thought was really good on Team Wii. Before he even got to Ultra Prime, and then it was a disaster for him. And now he's in a good spot, right, with BLG and getting the recognition he deserves. 160 games played, 4.7 KDA, 9.6 CS per minute, about a 70 KP, so solid numbers. 24.9 gold share, 731 damage per minute, 31.2% of damage. That is a lot of damage for a player that played 160 games. We also have to keep in mind, when we're talking about 160 games, 90 of the 160 are from regular season. Otherwise, it's like, and that's at most, it's like 80 to 90, like only half the games. Everything else is playoffs and MSI and Worlds, which are higher stakes and better opponents. Um, 18 champions played. Aphelios Zeri Zaya, 58%. So very focused on a few champions as far as these four players are concerned. That's the nature of it. We saw it with the Anyone's Legend roster. Everybody but Cal, well over 45%. Uh, Baye is the backup. He only played 7 games last year for BLG Junior, and then was a sub on the team for the rest of the year. 7 games, 4-1 KDA, 9-3 CS per minute, 68.5 KP, 25-2 gold share, 768 damage per minute, played 5 champions. I doubt that he's going to be forcing Elk's hand. On 20 years old, so this team's average age is 21.2. The thing is, like, he's a young player, so he's going to make mistakes. We look at other young players not making as many mistakes, and it's like, well, we also have to keep in mind he's 20 years old, right? So he's one of the best up-and-coming supports in the world. Does he have int moments? Yes. But at the same time, I think that he loses that ability to develop, make mistakes, and improve because the team is so good, and that's unfortunate for him. That's not fair to him, but fans seldom are. 160 games, 38 KDA, 71.9 KP, 172 damage per minute, and 22 champions played. So a lot of champions for him as well. Rakan, Lulu, Nautilus account for 39% of his games. So once again, another team where the support is the most diverse player. The backup to him will be Lamau. Lamau is expected to be the substitute, 27 years old, has been around the block. 42 games played, 3-4 KDA, 67.7 KP, 143 damage per minute, and played 12 champions with RNG last year, so he was at the top level, playing alongside LP in summer. Zhao Ji, 24 games on BLG Junior, 2.8 KDA, 64.1 KP, 169 damage per minute. Played 10 champions, a lot of champions in just 24 games for him. Like I said, though, I doubt that any of these junior players have a shot in hell at getting to the LPL next year over these 5. It would be a disaster. Something catastrophic has to happen for one of these players to shit the bed that bad. Tabe is the coach, at least projected to come back. Right now, he's currently not with them, but from what I've read, he's in negotiations. 80 and 32 over his career as a coach in best of threes in the LPL. 48 and 45 in individual playoff and regional final games. And then in individual games in international events, 79 and 35. That includes a couple MSI wins with RNG, right? So a super great coach, one of the best coaches ever. I think he's definitely in the conversation for top 5. Immediately when he joined BLG in spring, they stepped it up, right? So they went 25 and 7 last year, but it was 10 and 6 in spring, 15 and 1 in summer. And after Tabe joined in playoffs, they really heated up and they didn't look back. So a coach that definitely deserved a raise. And right now he's trying to argue with BLG to get it. So, not argue, negotiate. And I think he made his case, right? Look at the roster before I got here. Look at it after. And I think, that's a factor in this, right? So if he doesn't come back, what happens now, right? Do they bring back Dean? I think Dean was the coach before he was. And if that's the case, do they return back to where they were before Tabe? I think that needs to be seriously thought about because, people, and even myself, I'm just catching it now. We think this team is super, super good, and it is. Its performance speaks for itself. Its results speak for itself. But at the same time, consider what it was before him in spring. And yeah, so just something to mull over. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord. Become a YouTube supporter. And I hope to see you again tomorrow.